Hello, so today's video is going to be a comic book review video. I've never done any type of video like this on my channel before, although I have done a comic book haul, which I'll link up there. As usual, if you're interested in any of the comics that I share with you, they'll be linked in the description bar below, along with my Twitter and Instagram and all that type of thing. And if you want to learn more about me and my comics and how I read them, etc, etc, let me know in the comment section and I'll do a whole video on how I got into it. You get the gist. So let's just get straight into it. I've got 5 books to review for you. So first up, I have Batgirl and the Birds of Prey, Volume 1, Who is Oracle? This is part of the DC Universe Rebirth series. This is the first Rebirth volume that I've ever owned and ever read. I have been kind of trying to catch up with the New 52, so this has been a little bit on the back burner. However, I was in Waterstones and I really fancied getting my hands on a new comic volume, so I saw this and I was like, oh yes please, and I picked it up. Funny enough, I actually got spotted in that Waterstones, and the lady who served me, she's like, do you make YouTube videos? I was like, yes I do. She was really nice, so hello if you're watching. Anyway, this tells the story of Batgirl and Black Canary, and they're kind of getting the band back together, if you will. And then they find that they've got a little bit of an enemy, but also Huntress is also after that enemy, so they kind of team up and work together. It's quite cool. I really liked the artwork in it. I thought it was really cool and just funky. I liked it. It's definitely different to the New 52, but yeah, I liked it. I gave it 3.5 stars because I thought, well, to be honest, I couldn't help but compare it to the old Birds of Prey, which had like Poison Ivy, etc. in it, which I really enjoyed, and it wasn't quite as good as that, so I gave it 3.5 stars. But I do want to pick up more volumes of these as they're released because I think it will be quite good. Fingers crossed, hoping it won't flop. Speaking of flop, next up, Catwoman Volume 4, Gotham Underground. This is part of the New 52 series. I, just for the record, have read the first 3. Volume 1 I really enjoyed and I gave it 4 stars, as the same with Volume 2. And then I thought, do you know what? On a reread, these both might get 5 stars, so let's just buy the 3rd and 4th volume together. That was a big boo-boo because the 3 was terrible and so was this one. They changed the writer and it is, I don't know how you pronounce it, is it Aniseti? Ooh, I'm not sure how you pronounce that. And I heard kind of good things about her, that she's meant to have done some really good comics, but this one is just shocking. I went on to Goodreads and lots of people felt the same. I found myself speed reading through this. How can you speed read through a comic? It was just shocking. Now, I followed the Goodreads rating where 1 is I don't like it, 2 is it's okay, 3 is good, 4 is very good, and 5 is amazing. I gave it 2 stars, which means it's okay, and the reason why I got 2 and not 1, the writing would have got 1. I didn't like it. But the artwork, I can't help but like the artwork. And it's one of those things, isn't it, when you've got like a graphic novel-y type book that you can't help but look at it and think, oh yeah, that's beautiful, or oh yeah, that looks awful. It has amazing artwork that deserves like a 4 star. So yeah, I got 2 because artwork's amazing, just writing's just terrible, and now I don't know what to do. If anyone's read Catwoman, please can you let me know, what did you do? Did you go past this or did you give up on it? I honestly don't know. Should I try and push through and keep reading? Does it get any better? Or should I just drop it? I don't know. Difficult, but yeah, I wouldn't recommend this one, but the first 2 are great. I love them. Speaking of loving comics, I've got Gotham City Sirens Book 1. After Catwoman was just awful, on the same day, probably about an hour later, I picked this up. I wanted to get back to old Catwoman, but I was also really craving Poison Ivy. I love Poison Ivy. So I got the best of both worlds here. It features Catwoman, Poison Ivy, and also Harley Quinn. I've never read a comic with Harley Quinn in. The only thing that I have seen her in is the Suicide Squad film, played by Margot Robbie, which I did enjoy. But I really wanted to read the original kind of Harley Quinn, if you will. And what can I say other than I completely love this comic? I loved the three ladies individually. I love their personalities. They're so cool and funky, and they're all so different, and I love the fact that sometimes they bicker and they argue, sometimes they get on so well. I completely adore it. Here they live together, they argue, they have their big kind of team sort of saving the world missions, and then they also have individual ones as well. I really enjoyed the artwork. I was a bit unsure about it at the beginning, but I did really enjoy it. I like the fact that how we kind of set it up, it looks like a proper issue rather than how it usually looks in volumes. And do you know what this book does the best? This is from issues 1 to 13, and all throughout this book you have it running so smoothly, and for me that's what I think comic books should be like. Like, you should be able to have a single issue which makes complete sense, but then when you put it in a volume format it should also flow, and sometimes it can be very jarring and staggered when you read the volumes rather than the single issues, but this just flowed so well, and I can't recommend this enough. This was so good. I can't wait to get my hands on book 2. Yeah, just this is amazing. And I've also heard on the grapevine, I don't know if it's true, that they're going to be a Gotham City Sirens film, which would be really interesting to see who they cast. I presume they're going to cast Margot Robbie for Harley Quinn, but it'd be interesting to see who they cast for the other two. So I hope that's true. Loved it. 5 out of 5 stars. Go read it. Next, I have Superman Wonder Woman Volume 1 Power Couple. Again, this is part of the New 52 series. This I picked up because I'm a massive Wonder Woman fan. She's one of my favourite superheroes. I completely love her. I haven't read any Superman, but I thought the idea of this sounded really cool. And this starts with the two of them in a relationship, but the whole world doesn't know. However, it gets leaked, and the whole world does find out, and they've got to deal with that as well as kind of defeating the bad guys. And there are a lot of bad guys in here. There's a lot of action in this comic. The artwork is really cool. It's lovely. However, the problem with this is, for me, when you do a comic like this and you've got a relationship, I think that's fine as long as it feels like a relationship, and for me it doesn't feel like a relationship yet. There was one kind of scene at the end which I felt like they were starting to connect, and it did start to feel a bit real, but I don't know, maybe in volume 2 I'll feel a bit more like it's a real relationship. It just feels like they're friends going off fighting bad guys. It doesn't really feel loving yet, I guess, but we'll see. I gave this 3.5 stars just because I think it's one of those comics, I don't know if anyone else will agree with that, you intend to carry it on, but there are a lot of comics out there that are better than this. It's not like it's bad or anything like that, there are just others out there that you want to pursue, so you go to those first, and this kind of gets left on the shelf, so to speak. But I do want to read more of this. Hopefully I'll get around to it sooner rather than later, but it is still good. And finally, last but not least, I read Ms. Marvel Volume 1, The Best of the Best. I read it on my Kindle. This is going to reflect. Sorry, I read this on my Kindle, and it's the first comic that I've ever read on my Kindle, and funny enough it's the first Marvel comic that I ever read. And although I enjoyed it to an extent, in the sense that I quite like the storyline, the fact that she's come back from having a bit of a time out and she's getting back into fighting and seeing what she can do again, I didn't like the art style. It wasn't that great. So it's a bit similar to Catwoman, really. You can't have good writing and bad art, or you can't have great art and bad writing. The two need to go together. I gave this 2.5 stars because I did enjoy the writing. It did kind of flow. It hasn't put me off, but I think I'll be a bit more considerate about the artists that I pick from in the future. So there we are, that is my comic book reviews. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you did in the comments section down below. Let me know if you've read any of these, and also let me know if you want to do any more of these in the future, because I am reading a lot of comic books at the moment, and if you want me to do more of these types of videos, I certainly can. So that's it for today. I hope you're all having a lovely day. Take care, and I shall see you soon for my next video. Bye!